What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Real Fanatics. I'm your host, Ferran, here again with my man Vito. And today we are getting into a review of a film you've heard us reference on the pod before, but didn't really get into a deep dive on, and that is Heat, the classic directed by Michael Mann that has been ripped off by plenty of films since its release. And arguably one of the best crime thriller films that, in my opinion, that's been made. Definitely a 90s classic. And at the time, it was, a film that was highly touted because you're getting Robert De Niro and Al Pacino in a scene together. They had been in
Two
films
biggest
together,
actors.
like, Godfather 2 and other films. Like, they had been in films together. This is one of the first films where they actually shared time together on screen at the same time, which, at the time was a very big deal. So, I guess we'll go into some initial thoughts. I mean, it's a difficult. Let me not say a difficult film to review, but it's a classic, so people know you like the film, right? For the most part. Um, but I'll say for me, one of the key things about Heat that I really love is even deeper than just the usual bank robbery or heist films. I think it really touches on the aspects of being a police officer and then the aspects of being a criminal and how those things impact a person's life and their
I agree
psyche
that.
and their ability to build relationships or lack thereof. And I think that that's one of the key things that differentiates this film from other films in this heist type genre is you really see both ends of the spectrum when it comes to Al Pacino's character Vincent Hanna or Rob De Niro's character Neil. They're both people who are so dedicated and committed to what they do, and even though they have the desire to have lives outside of that, they can't really successfully do that because of how committed they are to their craft of either being a criminal and or catching criminals. I'll say those are my initial thoughts. I'll let you go ahead and give some of your initials, but one I just wanted to highlight. I think one of the things that makes this film different, like I said, from other heist films that you usually see.
I'm going to agree and disagree with you. Um, I don't think they did it in a way that it shows the relationship with people. I think a lot of movies do that, but I think where this one was spectacular or what it did differently from a lot of movies, especially at the time, was they gave you both points of view. And
Yeah.
most of the movies, like you said, if it's a heist movie, we're following the heist crew and we're seeing them plan. We're seeing them kind of go through their steps of planning it and setting it up. It's going throughout the heist, and then either getting away or not getting away, or we see the officer on their side and we see them stopping the heist or trying to investigate the heist, and we don't really see the crew that much until they're stopping them. So I think that was one of the things that this movie, I don't know if that was the first time that it was done. That's the
Hmm.
first time that I can think about, looking back at older movies. We already spoke on, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. Back in the day, you really didn't have that many A-listers in the same movie. You know, um, if you did, it was man, woman, A-list,
Hmm.
A-list man, A-list woman. Where you have this one, you have two A-list males, they like dominant stars, not like I don't even have an example right now, but these were like two big ass names in the game at the time. Um, Even if they would put out a movie now, people would flock to see that shit because
Absolutely.
they're good at their craft. So where you were saying, where they it's them trying to, you know, get a relationship or how their life works outside of their jobs or their craft, what they're doing. I think it goes a little more in depth than some others would.
Yeah.
Um, I think Pacino's was kind of it was kind of silly and goofy, man. Um,
Yeah. His character was very over the top, but I like
yeah,
that though.
but I think but it's not just his character. I think even his relationship with his wife and his stepdaughter was over the top and goofy.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
like everything about his character just was. And then when you look at the contrast, you see Robert De Niro. His shit was all laid back, until the end of the movie where things
Yeah.
obviously get
Yeah.
wrapped up.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm going too much detail. My initial thoughts again. Um, I remember Heat being just a good movie, uh, uh, and then like you hear people talk about it, you're like, it's a great movie because of this, it's a great movie because of that.
Yeah.
They do this well, they do that well. I can't tell you the last time I seen Heat, man. Cannot tell you.
Mhm.
It's got to be pushing 20 years, maybe
20. You ain't that
15,
old.
20 years.
you,
Had to be,
ain't,
dude.
you ain't that old.
Had to.
like
He came out.
he
He
is
came out
milking
in
it, y'all. he
bro.
is milking it.
He came out in '95.
95, yep.
So I probably would have seen it somewhere before 2000. I'll say 2005 at the latest. So definitely 20 years. That's 20.
That's tough. Yeah, that is 20. Damn. Damn, we're old. Well, really, you're old, but I'm old.
All right, chill out, chill out. So at least 20 years, man. So um I'm still on like some of it is like nostalgia where I'm like, okay, yeah.
hmm
This is still good. This is still good. This is still
Yeah,
good. Um and then now, like, especially like with us doing this and us talking about films all the time, I'm starting to look at some aspects of it. I'm like, yo, okay, well, that was an interesting choice. Again,
yeah.
for
Low
instance,
key, you just reminded me of
uh,
something. I'm gonna let you finish though. You reminded me of
for
something.
instance, Pacino's relationship with his wife, and that whole scene when you know she got we don't see there's no setup to what was going on in their life before this movie started, so it
yeah,
looks like it's just they were having a good time together. He's working on a active case where people are dying, and she's mad that he's leaving to go figure it out. And they add a lot of so like I said, that's one of the things that like there's some things added, and then there are also subplots in here that
hmm
don't get fleshed out. It just happens, and then it's like, okay, that's this person, that's this, and it
hmm
was no reason to add it to begin with. It could have just they could have left it. They could have taken it out, and
yeah,
I don't know if that's what like we have now. If that would have been something like that, would have been a director's cut, but
yeah.
it was some shit that was in the movie that could have been left out. I do want to mention one more time though. We talked about this when we reviewed Den of Thieves, the bank heist, or once they leave the bank and the shootout scene. And
That's actually what I was about to touch on.
okay,
yeah, because when you said like it's some things when you start viewing, and granted, being film fans, you kind of already view films through that like a reviewer's lens. But when you're actively reviewing films, it's more heightened.
yes,
And like when I was rewatching it over the weekend, I was watching that shootout scene after they leave the bank, and I thought it like I don't know why this didn't click for me before, but I'm like,
you
so the
jump start
police plan was to just run up on them in broad daylight with civilians everywhere and
everywhere.
just start shooting. granted, granted they shot at the police first, but you're walking up with them with weapons drawn, knowing they're going to resist you when you approach them. So you're expecting a shootout to happen. And you're expecting it to happen in broad daylight with civilians everywhere, and then proceed to just like full blown get into said shootout in multiple locations across the city in broad daylight. It was one of the scenes where Val Kilmer's character Chris was hiding behind like a green car, shooting at the police, and they're shooting back at him. And in the frame, you can see a person in the
In the
car.
car.
you see a civilian just in the car like this, and I'm like, what? There's no way in real life the police would just get into an open. Grant, I'm not talking about how they treat us. I'm talking about an open shootout with
Listen,
civilians everywhere,
back
just
in the
spraying
'90s too,
bullets
bro.
carelessly.
Back in the '90s, they would have shot that motherfucker in the face and be like, "Oh, yeah, that was this motherfucker." You
yeah,
know,
I mean,
it's
yeah.
still
I'm not talking about how they treat us. That's a separate conversation. I'm just
it
talking
was
just practically getting into a shootout in broad daylight with civilians shopping everywhere
it was
and just
still the Wild
spraying bullets
West.
carelessly. That's one of the few times I got taken out of the movie. Like, hold on now, y'all. Like,
And
what are
so
we
since
doing?
since we already on this scene,
Yeah.
let's just keep on moving at this scene. I'm a
At this point.
I'm gonna bring it up again. The bank heist went on without a issue at all. Is
Yeah.
when they leave, and that's because somebody called them. Um, let them know what was going on. My issue was you and your crew left out.
Yeah,
Same thing with Den of Thieves. You and your crew left out, and like you said, Neil already mentioned. He said, "Yo, if it's me or you, it's gonna be you.
it's yeah,
You know, it's not
yeah,
gonna be me. Between me and you going. You know, we gonna see it out. We gonna see it through." And their thought was, okay, let us 5 officers go, and then we'll just, I do kind of remember now him calling saying, let's block off this area and this area
hmm
and this area. Um, I will say I don't see a good way of them stopping them at all.
yeah.
Maybe letting them get in the car and pull off, and y'all follow them.
Follow them.
That
That's what
probably
I
would have
was
been
thinking.
better
Like
because
something that doesn't put civilians everywhere in immediate danger. Because it's like
because
there was kids around.
it
It
was
was
people
like,
be it was people behind the heist crew
yeah,
everywhere, and like you said, they were just spraying, and even the
yeah.
cops, and also they fucking suck. Um, bro, they
They ain't
standing in
hitting
front of them, and
nobody.
they just not hitting these niggas, and these niggas mowing down
It just
cops.
picking them off left and
Like,
right. I think
bro,
Chris got hit in like the shoulder, and then Al Pacino's character finally killed the third member of the group, the
yeah,
dude that picked up the little girl. I'm forgetting his character's
fucking
name.
I'm forgetting his real Tom Sizemore.
Tom
Um,
Sizemore. I'm forgetting his character's name. I think it was
they
like
call him Slick. I don't remember his real name, but it was Slick. They
that
called
might
him
have been. Yeah, I
Slick.
was about to say I can't remember his character's name for
Because
whatever
that's how
reason. I
that's
think
how
it might have
they
been
that's
Slick.
how he got on to him
Yeah,
because he called everybody Slick, which
yeah. But yeah, man, that was probably the only time in the movie where I would say like I was taken out, or I was like, all right, now this is probably like the one. Yeah, like if I
right,
had a critique of this film, it would just be like how much you're asking me to suspend my
yeah,
disbelief for
it was
this
it was
scene. But
like
he was
I
a
said,
lot.
it was a lot of cops there,
Yeah,
and again it was four bank robbers, 3 of them
yeah,
had guns. It was a shit ton of cops, and none of
and they're
y'all
just getting mowed down
y'all
like this
getting
is Call
mowed
of
down,
Duty, like Call of
bro.
Duty zombies just getting mowed down.
Dog was running around with a shotgun, trying to shoot him from halfway down the block. What the
like
fuck are you
like what are we
doing?
doing? Like
But
what's going on? No, that was that the only reason I say that, because like I get it, right? Like it's a heist movie about a bank robbing crew, so I understand like the desire to have a shootout scene with the police,
right,
right? It's a heist movie with bank robbers, I get it. But I just don't know if, as an audience member, it's easy for me to just accept that in broad daylight, in multiple locations, in front of a bank, in front of a grocery store, and in front of a busy center where people are sitting down and walking around and there's shoppers everywhere, that the police are just going to just start spraying carelessly.
and that's the
Like
thing.
that's just where I was kind of like, I can't
They
follow
were
y'all down this
bad.
one.
They wasn't hitting them, and these dudes are running around with fucking bags of
Yes,
cash on
yes.
them. I want to say, did they? Now I want to say they said they got 30 million from that heist too.
I can't remember the exact
I
amount, but it
want to
was
say
a.
it was. So that's one of the things where it's a parallel between Den of Thieves and
Mhm.
Den of Thieves. He tells him, he say, listen, you can have this three. We can split with this 3 mil, or you can go
Yeah,
for the 30.
yeah.
And that's the same thing that happened in here. And
Because they had
it
just
wasn't
done
three
the.
mil, it was
Yeah,
1 million, and
yeah.
they flipped it, do it this. But the point I was trying to make before I brought that up was, again, they running around with fucking bags of, literally struggling running, and
Yes.
cops aren't catching them, not chasing behind them fast. Like, Al Pacino's running between these three fucking scenes, catching up on people, which is
hmm
wild to me. And then while we on goofy scenes, let's talk about this nigga decide that he gonna go kill Wayne, bro, at the hotel,
No,
knowing
that was
knowing that the fucking cops are there.
like that was, and it's crazy because like even knowing that scene was about to happen, when Nate made the phone call to him, like, "Hey, you on your way to the airport? Cool. Hey, not that you would give a shit, but hey, Wayne Grow is at this hotel under the name, I think it was like Jameson or something.
Something stupid.
Yeah, Jameson. Uh, He's there for the night. Not that you would give a shit though, because you about to bounce, right? Because that's a smart thing to do. And Rob De Niro, Neo, he plays it off like, yeah, no, I don't really care. And then you see like his face just
Contemplating like,
change,
fuck
and the
this
the
nigga.
gears start turning. He like, man, I ain't about to let this motherfucker get off on me, bro. Let me go ahead and it's like I get in a sense, right? Because if you understand Neo's character throughout the film, he's very prideful, and I think he even says at one point like he doesn't like letting people get off. Like that's why he even called this the scene where he calls Van Zant, and
Yeah.
he's like, it's a dead man at the other end of this line.
Hey,
You know
that
what I'm
shit was
saying?
cold.
And that was cold. That was a bar. But he's
He
like,
said, "No, I'm talking to a dead man." This nigga like, "What? What do
what?
you mean? Like, nigga, what?
Like what?
He threatening you, bitch?"
That was a threat, my boy. Like you about to get gone. You know what I'm saying? It's like I can accept it because they set that up within Neil's character before in the film to me of he's very vengeful and he doesn't like letting people get off or get over on him. And even if he had left and gone to the airport and lived happily ever after with old girl, there would have been that bug in the back of his head like I let Wayne grow get off. I let him get away. I let him get away. I
So
let him get off on
yes,
me.
but also my issue is, nigga, you knew the cops were there.
Oh yeah, I'm not
So
saying it was a
so
smart
so
decision.
you know, and
Yeah,
that's the part that bothers me
yeah,
throughout the entire movie. He's the thinker, bro.
yeah.
He's the O'Shea Jackson. He's the
He
smart
is the
one.
yeah, yeah,
So to look at, it's a fucking shotgun behind the desk. Okay, that's the police.
yeah,
And you think that you know damn well that's not the only police officer there. I mean, going into the building, he already knew that maybe it's somebody, maybe the cops are here
yeah,
because he went through the back and grabbed the security uniform and shit.
yep,
He's clocking police officers as he goes up. You know, so it was just wild that he how it went about him pulling the fire alarm, putting the trash can over there so he got a way to get out. It was just so much shit that he thought about, but not hmm, how do I escape these police officers afterwards? And again, for the most part, again, why didn't no one know? No one knew what these niggas looked like. So
nah, I ain't
Al
gonna lie.
Pacino and his crew were the only ones that had pictures. When they said, "Hey, we gonna put this man up in this hotel,"
Yeah,
they wasn't like, "Get him a picture of what these niggas look like." Or when they staking out Val Kilmer's girl crib, and they like, "Oh yeah, this guy's here." Oh nope, that's not him. His name isn't Chris. His name is Jackson. Let him go.
wherever the hell they said it was, and they let him
Yeah,
go, and he's like, everything comes up clean, and I'm like, so y'all didn't know what he looked like?
he cut his hair.
They
Y'all just
sent you to
like,
stop him, and you didn't know what he looked like you weren't aware of who you were looking for. No, it was nuts.
because why
It
do you
was, it
think a
was.
criminal would be? He's on the run anyway. You thought
You think
he'd
he's gonna have his
carry
actual
ID with
ID
his
on
name
him?
on it?
Like this is a career bank robber. You think he has his real ID on him?
So the officer that was the sergeant that was in the house, he's the to me he's the smartest nigga in the movie, because he's like, hey, check that car, bro.
Yeah, because she
Even though
definitely
she
capping.
said she like, no, yeah, like he thought
She a
like
real one for that though too. I ain't gonna lie.
he looked like, you said no good. You was at that window a long time.
Yeah,
Like,
he was at the. He peeped it. He was like, "You ain't about to get over on me.
no,
Hell no.
nobody.
I see what you
It
got
was.
going
They
on."
had niggas on the roof. They had niggas in other apartments, and nobody
Hmm.
seen him. Nobody
Not
took out
one.
binoculars. Said,
Didn't they have a sniper up there?
yes.
That's why I'm like, what the hell's going
But
on?
again, also they didn't know what this nigga looked like. They stopped this nigga, talked to this nigga, and let the nigga go.
Looked at his ID, paperwork, everything. Yeah, no, he's clean. What? What?
So, like I said, the the goofy shit, that those three things, and then again, like I said, the relationship with Vincent and his wife
Yeah,
was very just like I said, all of that was his shit. Like I said, his shit was very over the top and dramatic.
yeah,
His wife cheated on him. She goes out. Don't tell him where she going. Whatever. That's y'all relationship. I ain't here to control you. But then the nigga comes home. It's a nigga on his couch watching his
watching his
TV
TV.
after he hit. Like, oh, I want you to react, bitch. I thought he was good. Like, what?
Like what?
What? I'm working the case, actively working the case, multiple cases like where motherfuckers are dying, and you mad because I left you here for a minute to
It was weird
get
how she like worded it. I think she said like, even when you come home, you're not here or whatever, like you're not engaged. And then that's when he was like, okay, well then fine, let's sit here and talk about how I discovered this girl dead and raped and whoop de whoop. And he like
yeah,
goes into like graphic detail on his cases. He's like, fine, you want me to talk about my day? Let's talk about it. And it's like, well, you got to be careful what you wish for now, because like you have to understand the person you're dating and the person you're in this case married to.
married to.
Like in this case, you know who he is, you know how he operates, you knew how committed to his work he was. You had to have throughout the dating process, and then ultimately ended up marrying him, because I assume he's been like this for a minute. It's safe to assume Al Pacino's character didn't just flip a switch and
Right.
just become super cop. Like he's been like this for a minute. So I agree. The way she chose to respond to certain things was interesting. It was almost as if it was caught her off guard. Like she didn't know this
Like he
about him.
just,
Yeah. And it's
but
like,
even
well, the way the character's been presented, it seems like he's been like this. And now
even
you
with
just have a
that,
problem
you
with it.
know, it's only her saying that because
Yeah.
we don't see him being distracted when he's with her. We see him being involved.
Yeah.
We see him being involved with her daughter, who's his
Yeah. That's
stepdaughter.
not, yeah.
We see how angry he is at the fact that the daughter's father is not coming up. You know,
Yeah.
so we see that relationship. We see how close the daughter is with him to the fact that he picks her up from school and she knows the fucking his partner that he's welling with.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not a relationship. So like I think it was added for whatever reason the director decide or and writer decide they wanted to add that shit in here,
Yeah.
but it was unnecessary. The same with the daughter and her relationship with her father. Again, they did all of that to show that she was having issues, so she could cut herself.
Mm-hmm.
And him saying, "No, no, no, I need to be here with you. No, go, go."
Yeah.
He's like, again, he like, what
It
the
was,
fuck
I
are
will
we
say,
doing?
that was a hell of a way. If you want to try to make two characters resolve their issues, having their child almost commit suicide is a hell of a plot point to use
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
two characters to
that was
make up.
very wild.
What?
You know, and
Like, I just thought about it as I was watching it. I was like, did they just use a child's attempted suicide as a plot device to get two characters to reconcile?
bro, I'm
That shit
watching
is
that,
nuts.
and the only thing I can think is Natalie Portman played a lot of just wild ass roles as a child. Like all
Yeah.
her roles were all
Yeah.
like fucked up. None of them was
Child
like
acting Natalie Portman had some wild roles.
none of them was like, yeah, this little girl living a good life. Everything's
Yeah.
good. This is a comedy. All her shit's fucked up. Her
Yeah.
parents get killed. She living with a hitman with in a very inappropriate relationship. You know,
Leon, yep.
very inappropriate. And then like this shit, I don't know what else. I'm pretty sure we found some other shit that's gonna be fucked up. But like you
Yeah,
said,
but this and Leon the Professional are enough. I ain't gonna lie.
yeah, and that
Those are enough to where it's like, what was Natalie? Why was Natalie Portman getting all of these very very fucked up child acting roles? Like all her characters as a child are tortured people.
like the fact that obviously she already has some shit going on in her life,
Yeah,
and he's looking out for her. He's like, yo, this fucked up, we need to do something about this. And the mom's like, no, this, and this girl is freaking out because she can't find some, like, what was it, some eyeliner or some shit the morning of when the dad
yeah.
was supposed to pick her
It
up.
was something because I guess she was trying to like look right because her dad was coming or
Yeah,
something. Yeah, it
so
was. She
so
like went into full panic over it.
and that's why I'm saying where it was like the mom's reaction or his wife's reaction to
It was very
him
dismissive.
working, it was odd. It was
Yeah,
very odd. Like I said, they just threw that in the movie, but it wasn't done properly. Like you said, you see,
yeah,
like, okay, he left the dinner, checked on this. He said, hey, just go home with them.
mm-hmm.
You don't fucking go home. You want them to come back to get
Yeah.
you to argue about this. So
Yeah, it's like it's a weird dynamic, right? Because like on one hand, I understand to an extent if she felt like, oh, you're not here for me or whatever, but that wasn't portrayed in the movie. So
right,
from the audience perspective, it just looks like
she looked crazy as fuck.
you look crazy because you're dating a police officer, not just any police officer, like he's a detective and he's working a case that is getting national attention in a case where people have been murdered. So it's like you have to just understand the circumstance of who you're dealing with, and the way Al Pacino's character is presented to the audience. He's a workaholic. He even says it himself. He's a workaholic. So this isn't a new trait about him. You knew this about him when you decided to marry him. So now you saying that him being a workaholic is a problem, it comes across odd to the audience now because it's like you didn't know that about him already.
Right.
And it's like now you're mad at him. Not only are you like getting mad at him because he's a workaholic, you're adding additional stress to a man that you already know is working this insanely difficult case where people's lives are on the line.
And you know he not wound too tight. So why the fuck would you have this man in his underwear on the couch, bro?
Like you just trying to get him to crash out. Like what are
what
we
if he
doing?
would've, you know, y'all done.
Chitty
No.
chitty bang bang.
Chitty chitty
I'm
bang bang.
Yeah,
So
I didn't really understand the her thought process there and like why she. Granted, I still think that story could have worked, right? Because that's
yeah,
you usually see similar stories in movies and TV shows about police officers where they portray the problems that they traditionally have at home, right? That's not necessarily new to on-screen
right.
portrayals of police officers, but it's usually shown in some way how you got there.
And not
This
just
film,
happening.
yeah, this film, it touches on it a little bit. Like you do see scenes of just Al Pacino's character like just being locked in and like Justine, I think is her name, being like an afterthought, but it's not like prevalent, right? Like you have to kind of read between the lines to see it.
Right.
To see that his character is kind of just locked in that moment and like everything else around him doesn't really matter. Yeah, I don't feel like it's really portrayed to the level of where the audience as a whole is going to really understand and latch on to this idea of her feeling slighted or not valued enough because he's so committed to his work. Because this is really the only example of that you see is this one case he's working.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's not like
Well,
a
technically, two.
oh, if you're counting the
And that's why
you're talking about the black woman that got murdered.
that's the other plot point that
That's technically the same case though,
it's
because
not.
he's a part of that crew.
He doesn't know that.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, in his
And,
mind, he doesn't know that. Yeah,
and
in
that's what
his
I'm
mind, they're
saying.
two separate cases.
That was
Yes.
one of those things where and before we go to this, I actually want to talk about Robert De Niro's relationship with can't remember her name, but and we're going to spend way less time on Robert De Niro and his relationship than Al Pacino and Justine.
Yeah, his was less fleshed out. So
It was
yeah,
less fleshed out, and but it was less fleshed out. But honestly, it made more sense
it
to me.
did.
But you know, Wayne Grove's whole thing that was unnecessary, and we get back to that. We circle back to that and why it's
Wayne Grove's a psychopath. Like
he's a psychopath. But
yeah,
again, we didn't need all of that. We could have had
it was a bit much.
him running from the scene. We could have had him showing up in Van Zant's office, and honestly, that's it. There was
Yeah,
no need for us to see him with swastikas on him,
they had to show you how much of a piece of shit he was. They
white
had
pride
to.
shit,
They
having
had to
sex
hammer the point
having
home.
sex with a black hook prostitute, and then murdering her, and then finding out that he's a serial killer.
Yeah,
Again,
that was just dropped casually. Like, yeah, this was the MO of other murders we've seen. I'm like, so he just walk around killing black
he's
prostitutes?
back.
Like what?
Like the whole thing was
Like what?
the
Like
whole
this is a
thing was
spree?
so and that's why, you know, again, I want to stop for a second and tell
Yeah.
people that I like the movie, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm about to pick this shit apart. It's so many things in that movie that shouldn't have been in there. It's a what, 2.5 hour movie?
It's longer than that. It's like 240,
240.
250.
So it's a long
250.
ass
It's
2 hours and
250.
50 minutes.
Yeah, it's damn near 3 hours.
But you like I said, you could take maybe 10 minutes out for credits and shit. So
Yeah.
240, about 238,
Yeah,
shit
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And it was a lot of it didn't need to be there. Him being a fucking serial killer. Again, they added that in there for what? What was the conclusion of that? They didn't.
There really was no
There
resolution there.
wasn't. So
Like there was no resolution to
all
that
these
whatsoever.
people, you know, maybe they'll run his DNA after he's dead.
I guess that was the resolution was his character getting killed. I mean, honestly, like, because I agree with you, there were some plot subplots in this film that didn't really get resolved. A few of them I'm willing to forgive because I feel like, at least in the case of Wangro's character,
That no. That
yeah,
I'm not willing to forgive. I
that
can
you're not willing to
forgive.
forgive.
Not me. You can forgive that
Okay,
shit. That
yeah,
one I'm not going to forgive because it was so unnecessarily stupid that I can't. Like I said,
yeah.
the wife shit, I can forgive that, and that was fucking dumb. But this, there was absolutely no reason to have that scene in here, and to pretty much allude to him being a fucking serial killer that's been terrorizing the fucking area. That Vincent has been working this case. It was
Like, that was the other
that's
thing, that Vince has been working that case, and it's like, damn, now okay, like, and then
you
there's no
know.
resolution to it because you really
And
don't see Vincent pick that case back up. He's
no,
he's
he
stuck on Neil and the crew for the rest of the film. So you got a point.
but they
You got a
did
point.
that to do the whole my wife is acting out
Yeah.
thing. And let's be honest, I hate when motherfuckers say like when people use sentences like that, she was acting out because
Uh-huh.
it usually comes from a different place where
Yeah. Yeah.
a fucking go to the kitchen. I'm a high
Yeah.
value man type shit, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not what I'm trying to do.
That's usually where that type of sentiment comes from. But even
But
in this case, like,
she
no, go
was
ahead. My bad.
acting out. She was
Yeah.
doing that to get his attention.
Yeah.
So they put that scene in there, but they could have did anything. They could have
Yeah.
did anything for him to leave that restaurant and not they didn't even have to show us. They could have focused on something else and then came back and but him being a serial killer, again, there was no resolution. There was nothing beforehand that would have, you know, you would think, like, hey, I got this guy. I want to do I want him to do a job with y'all. He's usually pretty okay. We can see from the fucking first heist that they did that this motherfucker's not all there up top. What the fuck you
Yeah.
looking at? Bro,
Yeah.
he's bleeding from his ears.
Yeah.
He can't hear you. And then he just
Yeah.
shoots the motherfucker.
Yeah. To
So
me, like, and that's where, because of that opening scene, that's where I'm almost kind of with you on how Rangro was portrayed, because I get you're trying to get across to the audience this person's not stable.
yeah,
That opening scene was enough
that was
to
enough.
show us he's not stable. You tried to go the extra mile with the scene with the prostitute and figuring out he's a serial killer and seeing all the swastikas and white power shit all over his body, right? And it's like, if that scene had led to some more resolution outside of just causing an argument for Vincent and Justine at a restaurant later, like, if that scene had done more than just create that, then I would have probably not, it probably wouldn't have stuck out to me as much as why
Yeah,
is that in
yeah.
here? But it's like, because it had no resolution and because the only real fallout from that scene was just to create an argument between these two characters so you could then set up their divorce later. Like, I just feel like that could have been fleshed out more. But the reason I forgive it is because this movie is dealing with a lot. It's almost a 3 hour film, and this film's dealing with a lot, and it executes a lot of it very, very well. Like, it executes a lot in that all 3 hours very, very well.
I'm gonna disagree with you,
So
but
the things that maybe aren't as fleshed out, I'm willing to forgive, because I'm not gonna use those to like hold against a film where I feel like just about everything else is executed pretty much
so
flawlessly.
is there something else you feel? What do you feel was? I mean, we already talked about the relationship with Justine and
Yeah.
Vincent. What to you? What did you feel like wasn't fleshed out? Because I got one more that wasn't fleshed out entirely. It was kind of hinted at a lot, but
Aside from the Wangro storyline, I'm not gonna say Vincent and Justine wasn't fleshed out. I'm just gonna say that I needed to see more to justify her reasoning for like wanting to get away from him and cheating on him and doing all that
so
stuff.
you're
Like,
saying it wasn't completed?
I'm saying, like, I needed to see
And
a
when you
little bit
saying it
more.
wasn't
So
fleshed
sure.
out, is that what
Yeah,
you
sure. I'll roll with it. But I don't when I say not fleshed out, I don't mean in the sense of like, you know what I'm saying, like there wasn't enough there for me to not see it at all, right? Like, I can
Okay, I
see
get
it.
you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how some things are not fleshed out and you're like, how did we get from here to here? Like, slight detour, but I'm gonna get back because the point leads to what I'm trying to say. It's like, if for those of you who've seen Game of Thrones and you watched Daenerys Targaryen be this model citizen for 7 seasons. And then in season 8, she says, fuck it, I'm gonna murder an entire town of people. And there's no precedent really set up outside of her watching her friend get murdered in one scene to just make her snap and become this entirely different
She didn't
person.
start with a large group, you know.
Yeah, like that's what I mean by like I don't see things being fleshed out. In this case, I see the breadcrumbs there of their relationship being a little strained. Like the breadcrumbs are there in the film, but I felt like they could have done more to drive that point home and make it more clear to the audience. Like it was very, very subdued. Like I said, you have to kind of read between the lines to see, like, oh, these two people aren't really vibing like that. You know
So
what I'm saying?
I want to say one more thing about the relationship, and I'm done with their relationship completely.
Okay.
There were breadcrumbs, and I think the way it happened was they just again. I don't think it happened. If you look at the way of a line, a
Mm-hmm.
line graph, and it's a consecutive line,
Yeah.
or let's go down. Let's go this way for certain, because they
Mm-hmm.
start at a high. They're having sex in the bed. They're having a good time. Even once the daughter busts in and you see their relationship, everything looks good
Good at first, yeah.
at first, and then there's conversations, and that to me that's what it those nothing those conversations kind of just came out of nowhere, and something happened to make them like really
Mm-hmm.
quick. So it wasn't nothing where, like you said at the beginning, I feel like if we would have seen him rushing out of the house to get to work
Yeah.
at the opening scene, I feel like that would have made a lot more sense
Yeah.
than like he's actually actively trying to help the situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think, and again, that's just my point of view of it. You know, I feel like that would have made a little more sense for me. Um, but that's all I'm gonna say. That's the rest of. But then, like I said, it got progressively worse. The relationship got progressively
Yeah.
worse,
Yeah.
and it was just happening.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair, 100%. Honestly, like, cause to be real, like to me, we could touch on other characters in this film, but obviously, like Vincent and Neil
Yeah, more
are
important too.
they're the stars. And one thing you touched on before that I think is very key that makes this film kind of what it is you truly do see both sides, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
most heist films are told from one perspective or the other. It's told from the cop's perspective, or in most cases, it's told from the heist team's perspective. Like in the majority of cases, this is, I think, one of the unique films where it's the both characters are the main character.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
cop
yeah.
is the
It's
main
not just one.
character, and the
he's,
and the
he's
and
the
the thief.
protagonist and the antagonist.
Yes, like they are both. Like Al Pacino's character literally is the protagonist and the antagonist, and then Neil's is literally the protagonist and the
Yeah,
antagonist. They are interchangeable in that way, and you can view either one as either throughout different various points of the film. There's parts of the film where you're probably rooting for Neil over Vincent, and then there's parts of the film where it flips when you start to see both sides of those characters because they're both flawed human beings, and it showcases both sides of that. Like
right.
the film I think does a very good job to me. And this is one of the things that I really like about it, even outside of just I like the action scenes and I'm kind of like I ain't gonna lie, like you can get me with crime thrillers. That's like one of my favorite film genres is crime thrillers. So I was already just predisposed to liking this film, period. But one of the things I liked about this so much is it takes the concept of cops and robbers and really shows you like, okay, well, what does life on this side of the line look like, and what does life on this side of the line look like?
A contrast
Um, and then
while it's
compare and
happening.
contrast, and you're not necessarily showing them as one's a good guy and one's a bad guy. You're just showing them as here are two very flawed individuals who are parallels of each other on different sides. They both have the same problem of they're so stuck in their work they can't build relationships outside of it successfully. At least that's what's being portrayed, right? We can argue the fine details but like the it's showcasing two people who are so dedicated to their work and who they are and the flaws that come with it when they try to build their life outside of that was one of my favorite things that I looked at. One thing I will say, and it's just a personal gripe, now that I've given the film some praise, I'm gonna give it one little personal I'm gonna give it one little personal gripe, and it's kind of goofy but it's not because it's Black History Month and I feel the need to call this out. Why was Drucker the first one to die in the heist?
And listen, that's what that's listen. That's one of my favorite, favorite,
They just got
favorite,
him up
favorite
out of there just
actors, bro.
quickly. They just got him up out of there quick.
They
Like,
had to
hey,
stop the car, bro.
you trying to join this? You trying to join this job with us? Cool. Nigga gets two scenes and then gets shot the hell up.
I think again that
I
was
had a
something
problem with that. I ain't
that
gonna
was
lie.
something else that I think again that they added that we really didn't need.
Yeah,
Like
his
the
character
whole,
did come out of left field.
it came out of nowhere.
His character came out of left field. I was
But
like, oh, okay, well he's in
yeah,
here now.
I do want to mention something I think they did well was Chris's whole subplot with
I,
his wife.
I, I really like Chris's
You
subplot.
know,
I'm
and
not gonna
again,
lie.
and the reason
Chris' subplot was entertaining.
it
It was
was,
very
and
entertaining.
it made sense to the movie. Again,
Yeah,
his wife's cheating on him.
he got a gambling
He
addiction.
got a and that's why she's cheating on him because he got a gambling addiction. They don't
Yeah,
never you making millions of dollars, ain't never got no fucking money. I'm
literally.
and then you're away from home. I'm
Yeah,
gonna leave. I don't know where the kid was at when she was fucking on dude, but
yeah,
neither here or there. But he obviously knew she had a kid. I don't know where they met, how they met, because he was in Vegas.
yeah,
So, but at the end of the day, that's how they kind of got onto them. That's how
hmm
things got a little closer. So it progressed the story, which again,
yeah,
that's where my issue comes in. It's when these things don't progress the story. So his
yeah.
relationship with his wife didn't progress the story at all.
Yeah.
Um,
Literally everything in Chris's subplot became important to the story
yeah,
later on. Everything, every minute detail of Chris's subplot had an impact on how the story progressed.
even how it,
Every
like you
single
said,
thing.
how it ended when
Yeah.
she's upset with him. She's mad at him, but she doesn't want to see him locked up.
Yeah.
And she's good now. All you gotta do is cooperate. I'm
Yeah.
cooperating, and she did it so. I mean, to the everybody in the background, it was slight, but us watching
Yeah.
like you didn't see this bitch say.
Like you ain't see her just signal to him, get the fuck on.
You didn't see her stand there for fucking 2 minutes and stare at this random man. So
Like,
so
yeah.
it's things, but like I said, it progressed the story.
Yeah.
Chris's whole thing. Now, when you look at Tom Sizemore character, the only thing that really progressed the story with him is the slick thing. He calls everybody slick. He's an adrenaline junkie. He's an adrenaline
hmm
junkie, and there was nothing to show that. The
Outside of him just saying yes to the job, that's really
yeah,
it.
saying yes to that final job, there was nothing to show that he was an adrenaline junkie. Like I
Yeah.
said, I remembered the movie wrong. I forgot all about Wangro. I thought he was the one
Oh,
that
that betrayed them?
that
Yeah.
killed the guys at the beginning.
You thought it was okay. I
I
got you.
thought
I
he
got you.
started.
Yeah,
He finished
yeah,
it,
yeah,
but again, there was nothing to show him being an adrenaline junkie and him
yeah.
being quiet about a job. Again, him having a family is nice, cool. It's showing
You
this, it's
never really
showing
see
that.
his family for real. Like I think you saw his wife one scene
When they had that dinner,
when they had that dinner, and then they're never
yeah.
like his family is never referenced
So
again for
that's
the
what
rest
I'm
of the
saying.
film.
Like you don't expect a adrenaline junkie to have a wife and two kids.
Yeah, it
You
definitely
know,
does. It definitely didn't fit, but like his character is also like I'm not gonna say not important because he is, but he's not a
he's
central
least
character.
important.
Yeah, he's out of the crew. Him and Danny Trejo are just like the add-ons.
I
They're
was
the extra
forgetting
people.
about Danny Trejo.
You know what I'm saying? Like him and Danny Trejo are just the extra people. The film, like as far as the crew is concerned, your focus is Neil and Chris
Yeah.
and damn near Nate. Nate is actually probably a more important character
Oh, John Voight.
than John Voight. Yeah, Nate is probably a more important character than Tom Sizemore and Danny Trejo's characters are. You know what I'm
No,
saying? Like in
he
terms of the
is,
hierarchy.
and he is because again he said again I don't know how he got in contact with Wayne Grow or how Wayne Grow got in contact with him to get that job. Fucking insane. But then, like you said,
Yeah, that vetting process needs to be reviewed. Because
he's
what? There was so many red flags here.
because again I'm sure other people worked with him was like, yo, this motherfucker's not he's not all there,
He ain't wired
But
right, bro.
either way, like he's setting up jobs. He's a broker.
Yep.
He sets up getaway plans.
hmm
Um, so he's very crucial to the crew.
Yeah.
Again, he, it sounds like I'm just complaining now, but we could have not had him in the movie. I would have been fine too.
Who? You talking about Tom Sizemore's character?
John Voight, Nate.
Now you're tripping.
No, so look at
Now
it.
you're
I mean,
tripping. Now you're tripping.
most of this could have been a phone call. You think
Man,
it?
Nate's character was I thoroughly enjoyed Nate's
No,
character. So
he
that
is
is one of the
central.
best characters in the movie to me.
Okay, you're going a little bit too far now. He's central to the,
Yeah.
he's crucial to the story. He very much so is. Um, but also he's a broker. You don't
Yeah.
need to see this nigga.
He was smooth with it.
He
He was
was, but
smooth with it.
you
What
don't
you
need to.
mean? That
Again, I
little
think,
little
and I
old white man got a little bit of he got a little bit. Come on now, you gotta
and,
give Nate some
and I
credit.
think I'm saying it because it's
Nate
so much.
is think about the hierarchy. Top if you rank in the top four characters, you're not putting Nate in there.
I think I'm saying this. And you see, I ignored you. I'm saying this because it's so much other shit that was unimportant that's in the film
Okay.
that doesn't need to be. So it's like,
Okay.
okay, when you looking at shit, you're like, okay, I can take this out, this out, this out, this out, this out, this out, this out,
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
be a good movie. Okay.
Yeah.
Even when they did the when they did that second job, the mineral deposit thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they did
Mm-hmm.
like that. Even that part was like, okay, so because now it's like, okay, we got the right crew. They're on to something. We know they are because
Yeah.
they're still hanging out together. They're still doing this. They're still doing that.
Yeah.
And Buddy had to fuck it up because he was impatient and his ass shouldn't even been in that truck.
Yeah, that there's
But
it's always that one liability that like makes things go south. Because honestly, if you remove Wengro's character from the equation, a lot of things in this movie don't happen the way they happen.
they're not even on to them. If it's,
Yeah,
again, just like Den of Thieves. Den of
yeah,
Thieves. So when you said that and I started thinking back, I'm like, okay. But then I
yeah,
watched the movie and I'm like, okay, armor truck heist.
yep,
Okay. Somebody kills a guard.
yep,
I don't think they killed the guard. I think that they might have killed one guard in Den of Thieves, and then the other was in the hospital.
yeah,
They're down a member. Now
yep,
they were trying to kill Wangro, but in Den of Thieves, their guy died.
yeah,
Okay. They're planning the second job. Now the second job in Den of Thieves just so happens to be the Federal Reserve.
yep,
Okay. Or technically it's the bank, but that's a setup for the main job actually.
yeah, yeah,
Their second job is going to be the fucking the mineral deposit. But
mm-hmm.
also, I'm looking, I'm like, bro, y'all went into this fucking armored truck to steal this bag, this one little folder, which again, now that I watch Heat, Den of Thieves 2. They broke into that fucking plane.
A lot of
They stole
similarities.
one thing,
Yeah,
you know, excuse me. And again, that's what happened in this. They stole one thing. They stole one. What was it? Bonds, I think they
yeah. It
stole.
was bail.
And
I
I'm
think
like,
it was Bonds. Yeah,
you opened multiple boxes, so you might as well have taken that shit too. You
yeah.
know,
But it looked like they were looking for something specific though. Like because when they got in the truck, when they blew the door, you see they're like looking and
it was the
like
bonds. That's what they
they
were
were
looking
look.
for.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it was very specific what
But
they were looking
it's the
for.
fact that if I cracked it, I cracked this door open,
Mm-hmm.
$20,000 in cash. Crack
Yeah,
this door open, it's diamonds. I cracked this
yeah,
door open. This is what I
yeah,
want.
yeah,
It's not like I'm going behind and now cracking shit open.
yeah,
Just take that shit on your way out.
yeah, yeah,
But like I said,
yeah.
that was one of the subplots that I thoroughly enjoyed. And I know I'm bouncing back and forth. My little ADHD, whatever that is, kicking off. But that was the comparison to the two movies. But I
Yeah.
really love the subplot of Van Zant's. It
Van
was
Zant's
very
subplot was just funny because to me Van Zant was like his subplot was like just in terms of him as a character.
yeah.
I enjoyed his character just because of how much Neil wanted to kill him. And the threat of a
So
dead man on the other end of this phone. Like to me, Van Zant is an interesting character, not because of Van Zant himself, just because of how the other characters interact with him.
so mine was more so how they kind of hyped him up. They like, yo, this is a big money man. He moved
They
money for
sure
these
did
people
hype
and
him
these
up at the
people and these
beginning, didn't
people.
they?
And then they set it up. They're like, and then the first thing he says, he's like, yeah, I'll meet with y'all. We do this. First,
And it sets
we
him
gonna let him
up.
get away with this? No, we
Yeah,
gonna fucking kill him. So I'm
yeah,
thinking, yo, and then even when he pulls up, to do the trade,
Mm-hmm.
You like, yo, a motherfucker hopped out the back of the truck real low key, like,
Mm-hmm.
this nigga got a gun, this nigga got a gun. They do what they do. He makes that phone call, says what he says, and then Van Zant is hiding in his office for fucking a week, 2 weeks
What
after
did he
that.
say? Yeah, he's like, I haven't left this office in like 2, 3 weeks. Yeah.
So, that's
Yeah.
like I said, like he's set up as this big hard ass guy, but then now it's like, okay, these motherfuckers that I don't know who they
Yeah.
are trying to kill me. And that's the part where also it got a little funky, because how the fuck did Wayne Bro even know what was going on with that? Because he wasn't around when they told him,
Yeah.
"Hey, these bonds is from this guy."
It's from this dude. Yeah, he wasn't there when they got that information on
He
who they
wasn't
had stole
around to
from. That is
so
a good
so
point.
it was
That is a
wild. It
good
was
point.
very
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. I don't know how he knew that. That is a fair point.
but again, I love that subplot. And then I do want to bounce back to the because I'm really done. I really, I don't know what else you got. I'm pretty sure I can piggyback off of what you got, whatever else you got.
What's your rating? What are you giving it?
Um, well, before I get my rating, I do want to bounce
Okay.
back to the shootout scene.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yep.
to the last shootout scene, rather,
Mm-hmm.
or not last, the bank heist scene shootout.
Okay, so not the one with
Neil
Vincent
and
and
Neil.
Neil at the very end. Okay, okay.
Like I said, they were. I was never in Marine boot camp, but what I would hear was they would say, "Oh yeah, they show us this scene in boot camp because it shows like how people move when they're firing at each other,
Yeah.
or how you supposed to move."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching it, I'm like, "Yo, this motherfucker got a lot of bullets, bro." And they, but it is again the comparison to Den of Thieves, and
Yeah.
Den of Thieves is a lot more verbal communication, which is
Mm-hmm.
great.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, they're fucking firing off 2, 3 magazines, and then they're like, okay, now you need to go. Which
Yeah.
again, you should have been running, because 2, 3 magazines is a lot, and
Yeah.
we seen motherfuckers run out of bullets. My let me say it like this: my rating from memory before watching this movie again probably would have been a probably would have been an 8.5.
We're around the same area.
Eight
I'm a
five to
little
eight
higher
seven.
than you.
That's before memory though.
Mm-hmm.
After watching the movie again, I'm I don't want to give it a 7.5, but I'm
That's
not giving it
insanely low
I'm
for
not
this.
giving it an 8.5 either.
So were you at
So
an 8?
I don't know. Let's just say, yeah, I'm at an 8 even. And
Okay.
honestly, again, for me, that feels like a lot, because of, and again, that's because of the added scenes in there
Mm-hmm.
that didn't need to be there. The scene, like I said, the scenes with that little subplot with him and his wife,
Mm-hmm.
the subplot with his stepdaughter, her fucking trying to kill herself. Again, how, how the
It's an
fuck did she?
interesting.
How
It's
did she know
interesting.
what hotel he was at? How did she get into his fucking
Yeah.
hotel room? The subplot with Wangro being a fucking serial killer. Honestly, that's the most egregious out of all of them to me.
That one was crazy. That was
Again, it was
crazy.
it was so insane, because again, him simply showing up and telling Van Zant like, "Yo, I worked with him. He want to kill you, but I do this thing." We know he's already. We again, that first scene where he killed the dude, we know he's off. We know he's
Yeah.
not wound tight.
Yeah.
That would
I
have
feel like they were
sufficed.
trying to just overly drive that point
Yeah,
home that this man's not right in the head.
they wanted us to hate him so much,
Yeah.
but again, that was already done. I mean, them trying to kill him was crazy, but
I mean, yeah.
but but we already don't like him. We don't like him because the main character doesn't like him. I didn't need him to be a fucking raging Nazi racist. I didn't need him to be a fucking serial killer.
Yeah.
I just didn't need that. And then again, we know even more that there's some bigger reasons for us to hate us. He ends up giving up the heist, the bank heist, because
Yep.
he tracked down Danny Trejo somehow, some fucking how. He tracked him down, beat the killed his girl, beat the shit out of him. Again, I don't think he would have won that fight. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Who's saying? But at the end of the day, that would have been our other reason to hate him. We didn't need
Yeah,
him to be a fucking serial killer. That's the
yeah,
most egregious extra scene in this movie to me, and I can't get over that.
yeah,
Honestly, if I would have gave this movie a 10 before, and then that scene was in there, I probably would have dropped it 2 points because that shit is just ridiculous.
yeah. It's so. I will say I see where you're coming from with that for sure because you could have shown Waingro as being crazy with just those two, the scene at the beginning and excuse me, if you
That
wanted to
red
show
shit.
the scene, no, hey, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. It's a if you had just shown the scene at the beginning of him going off on the guards and then actually showed the scene of him killing Danny
Trejo.
Trejo and his
Yeah.
girl. Like if you had just shown that scene instead of just implied it, we could have done without that subplot in the middle. I will give you that for sure. That's a fair point.
Listen, they
Um,
could have not put that. They could have not shown him beating up Danny Trejo and still not put that in there, and you would have been like,
yeah, but I'm just
yeah,
saying, even if your desire was we want to drive this point home, showing that scene and cutting the serial killer subplot out, I think would have been a better way to go about it. Um, I'm a my rating's a little higher than yours. It was
obviously.
an yeah, it was a nine. Just like off memory,
Mm-hmm.
remembering it from watching it before. And after rewatching it, I'm not changing it. It's still a
You
nine.
keeping a nine?
I'm still keeping it at a nine. You have two of the largest titans in the history of acting on screen together. We didn't even touch on the restaurant scene, which is the most iconic
Yeah.
scene in the
That,
film.
so
You know what I'm
one thing
saying?
I want to ask you before we did,
Yeah,
who do you think delivered a better performance? Because I'm on De Niro's side. De Niro,
that's tough. That's very
I
tough.
think De Niro gave like I said that restaurant scene alone. You like
Yeah. They were doing different things, right? Like De Niro's performance was a lot more subtle because his character was a lot more
yeah
subtle. And he was doing a lot of his acting through facial expressions. He was doing a lot there was a lot more subtle things you notice. Like even the scene where he gets the call from Nate and you see he doesn't say a word after he gets the news that Wayne grows in the hotel under a
yeah
different name. But you see his entire thought process just through his facial expressions, and you know exactly what's going through his head. Like, so it's different in comparison to Al Pacino talking about how much he loves big asses.
she's got a
You
great ass.
know what I'm saying? Like it's they're very different. So it's hard in my head to compare them and say which one is better. I'll say I liked De Niro's performance a little bit more because of how subtle it is and because of how much he had to convey things to the audience without speaking or without giving as much expression as
As
Al
Pacino did.
Pacino's character was allowed to do. I'll say that. Both gave phenomenal
Yeah.
performances though. But I'm with you. I'll give De Niro the slight edge.
And I do want to say, that scene, people again, the restaurant scene, people talk about for years. Ari
Yeah.
Spears, who he's a fucking annoying as shit to me now, annoying as hell.
Yeah.
He in one of his older stand-ups, he does that scene where he does both of them. He's really talking about how great of a scene it is, but
Mhm.
he plays both characters because he does impressions, and it's
Mhm.
really well. And I'm gonna send it to you when we finish. I wish I could
Oh yeah, please
just rip
do.
it, but that scene where he's like, "She's got a great ass," you know, I'm when he said it, I'm like, "Oh shit." They've mentioned that in other movies
Yes.
and like people are like mocking Pacino doing it, and I don't remember that from Heat. I like vaguely remembered it when he said it, but like
Mhm.
when people were doing it, they're like, yeah, it's Pacino, and I'm just thinking,
You
that's
like
how
what
he.
movie he do that in?
Yeah, I'm just like that's how he
Yeah.
sounds. Maybe
Yeah.
he's doing this at parties. I don't fucking
Yeah.
know.
Maybe he's doing this at
I don't
parties.
know. Maybe he got
Maybe
his
this is
little
what he's
kitty
like off
thing
camera.
going
I don't
on. I
know.
don't fucking know. But
But no, that's that.
yeah,
I would say that those two for sure are definitely most iconic scenes from this film.
yeah.
The restaurant scene is just like spectacular. Just for that alone, like to finally have a scene where Al Pacino and at the time, the first time you see them on screen together, acting across from one another, and to see what that interaction was like. And to kind of get an understanding, they really tell you a lot about who they are as characters. If it's not already clear to you from how they are portrayed in their actions, they verbally in that scene tell you a lot about
Yeah.
about themselves as characters and who they are at their core. And that's when you really start to realize they're basically the same person on different sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
Like you essentially took the same individual. One's a cop, one's a criminal, but at their core, they have a lot of similarities, and that really came out in that scene, which is,
And
I think,
they
one of the
talk about
masterful
it. I
things about
think
it. Yeah, they damn near bond over
De
it.
Niro tells him like he's
Yeah,
like, yo, how do you do this when how do you work on your relationships when this is this? And
yeah,
I really want to be done, but now that you just said that, really brought up a point. You know, Pacino's already in this relationship, and I
yeah,
think he said he had been married twice before,
yeah,
and then De Niro, like, that wasn't something he was actively pursuing.
yeah,
Like, he was a dick to this lady. Like,
yeah.
why the fuck are you asking me this?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah, like
you
why are you
know,
starting a
so,
conversation with me?
yeah,
Like
like,
what?
so
Yeah,
it was him. Honestly, he was. I think he was more so interested in, like, how do you navigate these feelings when
yeah,
you're all in your job, like I'm all
yeah,
into my job.
yeah,
And again, we know this because we know De Niro knows about Pacino because they was watching them too. The when they was pretending to case the place,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he's like,
yeah,
they watching us, you know.
yeah.
So again, I don't think we said this. The only reason we reviewed Heat and we're talking about Heat, maybe we said it when we watched Den of Thieves, when we reviewed Den of Thieves too.
We may have. I can't recall
I
off the top
can't
of my
remember
head,
if we
but
did it while
that
we were
did
doing
bring us
it,
here to be like, we should
or
do a Heat review. I'm
but
glad we did though.
that's what brought us here because
Yeah,
he or Den of Thieves one had so many similarities to Den of Thieves or to
to Heat.
Heat.
Yeah,
But then again, after watching Heat, I'm looking at the similarities between Heat and Den of Thieves too.
yeah.
You know, like I said, that initial plane heist was exactly what happened in
Hmm.
the beginning of Heat
Yeah, it's a lot of you definitely see the not even just in Den of Thieves and a lot of films that came after Heat. You really see the inspiration this film
because it set the bar.
had on a lot of it's one of the highest bars as far as heist films and crime thrillers go. Definitely truly a classic of its time and definitely one of my personal favorites. That's why I decided to stick with my 9 out of 10 rating. But that's been our review of Heat. Let us know you guys' thoughts. This film's a classic. It's been out for forever, but we still love to have exchanges, not just on the more recent films that come out, but on the classics as well. I think it's good to have dialogue on everything. So always continue to like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate all the support. And until next time, this is The Real Fanatics. Peace.